Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the greatest peace, the deepest joy, and the most powerful strength available to you today isn't found in your plans, your schedule, or your to-do list, but in surrender? Surrender is often misunderstood. In the world we live in, surrender is associated with giving up, backing down, or losing control. It's seen as a sign of weakness, of failure, or of defeat. But in the realm of faith, surrender takes on a completely different meaning. It is not weakness, it is strength in its purest and most powerful form. When you surrender your day, your plans, your fears, and your control to God, you are not letting go because you're incapable. You're letting go because you trust that He is more capable than you could ever be. That kind of trust requires courage. That kind of faith requires strength. It takes strength to admit you don't have all the answers. It takes strength to say, God, I don't know what today holds, but I trust you with it. It takes strength to hand over the steering wheel of your life and allow the one who created the path to guide your steps. The world teaches us to hold tighter when things feel uncertain, but God teaches us that when we let go, that's when we begin to truly walk in power. His power. The strongest people are not those who try to control everything, they are those who know when to kneel, when to pray, and when to surrender. When you surrender to God, you stop wasting energy trying to fix what only He can fix. You stop carrying burdens that were never meant for your shoulders. You trade anxiety for peace, confusion for clarity, exhaustion for rest. You begin to operate not of your limited strength, but out of His limitless supply. That is the supernatural exchange that happens in surrender. You stop striving and start abiding. You stop reacting in fear and begin responding in faith. Surrender also silences the inner chaos. When you're trying to manage every outcome, fix every problem, and control every situation, your soul gets weary. But the moment you say, Lord, I can't do this on my own, you invite His strength to take over. And what He does with your surrendered heart is always far greater than what you could do with a clenched fist. Surrender is not retreating from life. It is stepping fully into life with the assurance that you are not walking alone. This kind of surrender doesn't make you passive. It makes you powerful in a way the world cannot understand. It sharpens your vision, deepens your faith, and anchors your soul. You become unshaken by things that once overwhelmed you because your confidence no longer rests in your ability. It rests in His faithfulness. You can face the unknown, confront challenges, and endure the storms of life because your strength is no longer based on what you can do, but on what God will do through you. Daily surrender is not something that happens automatically. It's a conscious and deliberate choice we must make each morning. Life is filled with decisions, pressures, and distractions that constantly try to pull us in different directions. From the moment we wake up, our minds begin racing, thinking about the tasks ahead, the challenges we might face, and the plans we've made. In the middle of all this, we are given the opportunity to pause and choose who will lead our day: ourselves, our emotions, our fears, or God. This choice is quiet, invisible, and often overlooked, but it determines the posture of our hearts and the outcome of our day. Surrendering daily to God means waking up and making a clear decision to let Him be the guide, not just a guest in our lives. It's about starting each morning with a heart that says, Lord, I trust you more than I trust my own understanding. I give you my schedule, my energy, my goals, and my concerns. This choice isn't always easy. There are days when surrender feels unnatural, days when we'd rather take control, handle everything ourselves, or lean on our own strength. But that's when this decision becomes even more important, because real surrender happens not when life is easy, but when it's uncertain. And it's in those uncertain moments that choosing to give God control demonstrates deep faith and spiritual maturity. The truth is, surrender is not a one-time event. It's not something you do once at a church altar or during a moment of emotional worship. It's something you have to wake up and do again and again, every single day. Each morning presents a new opportunity to realign our hearts, let go of yesterday's worries, and trust God with the new day ahead. The beauty of this daily choice is that it builds consistency. The more you surrender each day, the more natural it becomes. And over time, you begin to experience the fruit of that surrender. Peace that surpasses understanding, wisdom beyond your years, and strength in your weakest moments. This kind of surrender creates a foundation that can't be shaken by life's ups and downs. It anchors you in a place of trust, regardless of circumstances. When you start your day with surrender, you begin with the right focus. You no longer rely on your feelings, which can change hour by hour. You rely on God, who remains constant and faithful. That choice puts you in a position to hear His voice more clearly, to see His hand more evidently, and to follow His lead more confidently. Making the decision to surrender each day is not always comfortable, but it is always worth it. It's in this daily act of letting go and trusting God that we truly grow in relationship with Him. It's where transformation happens, not in the grand moments of life, but in the quiet, consistent decisions to let God take the lead, one day at a time. God is not distant, detached, or uninterested in the small parts of your life. He is not only concerned with the major life decisions, the big storms, or the dramatic moments. He deeply cares about the little things. Every detail, every step, every thought that crosses your mind. Too often, we make the mistake of thinking God is only needed when things get out of hand or when we reach a breaking point. But the truth is, God wants to walk with you through every moment, no matter how ordinary or routine it may seem. When we begin to understand the depth of God's care, it changes the way we live. It shifts the way we pray. We stop reserving prayer for emergencies and start making it part of our daily rhythm. We begin to talk to Him not only about our crises, but about our plans, our conversations, our worries, and our responsibilities. God doesn't just want a part of your life. He wants to be part of everything, from the way you speak to others, to the choices you make in silence, to the thoughts you don't even say aloud. He wants to be present in all of it. His involvement doesn't crowd or restrict your life. It actually brings freedom. When God is invited into the details, He brings clarity where there is confusion, peace where there is tension, and direction where there is uncertainty. We often compartmentalize our lives into sacred and secular, as if God belongs in church services, but not in business meetings or daily routines. But that division isn't real. God is Lord over all, and He wants to be present not just on Sundays, but in every conversation, every meal, every interaction, every decision. This level of intimacy is what He desires. He created you, knows you better than you know yourself, and longs to be in fellowship with you not occasionally, but constantly. The invitation is not burdensome, it's liberating. To know that you're never alone, never overlooked, and never without guidance is one of the greatest truths of walking with God. He notices the small things others miss. He hears the prayers you whisper while doing dishes, while driving, while sitting in silence. He sees your efforts, your motives, your sacrifices. Nothing is hidden from Him, and nothing is too small for His attention. When we begin to invite God into every detail, we stop living on autopilot. We become more aware, more present, more intentional. We stop striving alone and start walking in step with His Spirit. Whether you're choosing what to say in a tough conversation, how to spend your money, or even how to schedule your time, God wants to be part of it. He wants to lead, guide, and provide, not just in emergencies, but in the moments that seem forgettable to everyone else. Those small moments, when given to God, become opportunities for Him to reveal His faithfulness, His wisdom, and His care. Peace is one of the most sought after things in life, yet often one of the most misunderstood. Many people spend their lives trying to arrange the perfect circumstances, thinking that peace will follow. They chase after financial security, physical comfort, the approval of others, or a problem-free day, believing that once everything is just right, their hearts will finally be at rest. But real peace is not the result of perfect circumstances. It's the result of trusting in the one who holds all circumstances in his hands. It doesn't come from what is happening around you. It comes from who is reigning within you. When life is uncertain and the future unclear, peace doesn't vanish because the storm arrived. It vanishes because we've placed our confidence in temporary things. Jobs can be lost, people can change, plans can fail, and the unexpected can knock us off our feet. But when our peace is rooted in God, when He is the one in control of our heart and mind, we are no longer shaken by the chaos around us. The storm may rage, but we remain steady, not because the storm is small, but because our God is greater. It is easy to feel calm when everything goes according to plan, but true peace is tested when nothing goes as expected. That's when we learn whether our peace is based on comfort or on Christ. When God is the one in control, you can walk through valleys, face giants, and navigate loss without falling apart. You don't have to pretend everything is okay, but you also don't have to be ruled by fear. Peace becomes your anchor, not because you have control, but because you've handed control over to the one who never fails. This peace is not passive, it's powerful. It guards your heart and mind. It allows you to think clearly when others are panicking. It keeps you kind when frustration tries to take over. It gives you the strength to keep going when circumstances are screaming at you to give up. The world cannot offer this kind of peace. It is not found in possessions or achievements. It is found only in relationship with the living God, who promises to be with you always. When you truly believe that God is in control, you stop obsessing over outcomes. You stop trying to force solutions or manipulate timing. Instead, you begin to rest, deeply, quietly, securely. Your heart becomes still, not because the world has calmed down, but because you found your refuge in the one who never changes. He sees the end from the beginning. He holds every moment, every trial, every tear. And when you know He is in control, you can walk in peace that surpasses all understanding, even when everything around you is falling apart. You begin to experience a calm that makes no sense to the world, but is fully rooted in faith. Surrender is not the end of effort, it is the beginning of direction. It is the moment when you stop leaning on your own understanding and start trusting the wisdom of God. Many people live with confusion and indecision, constantly second-guessing their choices, worrying about tomorrow, and wondering whether they're on the right path. That's because they're trying to navigate life based solely on human logic, emotions, or pressure. But when you surrender your plans, your desires, and your fears to God, you invite something far greater into your life. Divine guidance. It's not that God isn't speaking. It's often that we're too busy holding on to our own way to hear Him clearly. Surrender clears the noise. It softens the heart and positions it to receive instruction from above. When you let go of the need to control every outcome, you make space for God to lead. And when He leads, He doesn't just give you information, He gives you revelation. You begin to see things you couldn't see before. Doors begin to open that your effort alone could never unlock. The path that once seemed foggy becomes illuminated, not all at once, but step by step, as you walk in obedience and trust. This kind of guidance isn't about hearing an audible voice every day. It's about being sensitive to His Spirit. It's about recognizing the peace that follows a godly decision and the discomfort that comes when you're heading in the wrong direction. It's about reading His Word and finding that it speaks directly to your situation. It's about learning to pause and pray before acting, and then having the humility to follow through, even when it doesn't match your original plan. Divine guidance is a gift, but it is released in the place of surrender. As long as you're trying to force your way, rush your timing, or manipulate outcomes, you're blocking what God is trying to do. But the moment you let go, things begin to align in ways that surpass your understanding. That's where peace begins to flourish. Not peace that depends on circumstances, but peace that flows from knowing God is leading the way. When you know that the one guiding you sees the full picture, you stop panicking over the pieces. You no longer have to figure everything out on your own, because you trust that God's plan is wiser than yours. You start living with quiet confidence, not because life is predictable, but because you're walking with the one who is unshaken by unpredictability. That confidence becomes your peace, your strength, your anchor. It allows you to move forward, not in fear, but in faith. Divine guidance doesn't just show you where to go. It keeps you calm while you're getting there. Surrender opens the door, and God walks in with wisdom, direction, and the kind of peace that cannot be shaken by changing circumstances. There is something powerful that happens when you begin your day not by rushing into your schedule, but by inviting God to lead every step. Most people live day after day going through the motions. Waking up, going to work, completing tasks, and repeating the cycle. The routine can feel dull, predictable, and even meaningless at times. But when God is invited into the center of your day, that same routine takes on a new dimension. Suddenly, the ordinary becomes extraordinary, not because your circumstances change, but because the presence of God transforms how you walk through them. A God-led day is not just about avoiding problems or hoping for blessings. It's about walking through each moment with spiritual awareness and purpose. It's about realizing that nothing is too small or insignificant to matter when God is involved. Whether you're sitting in a meeting, cleaning your home, making a phone call, or driving through traffic, each of these moments holds potential for divine encounters when your heart is in tune with God. He can speak to you through a stranger, remind you of truth in the middle of stress, or shift your attitude with a whisper of peace. That is the beauty of surrendering your day. Everything becomes an opportunity for connection with Him. When God leads your day, interruptions no longer feel like annoyances, they become divine redirections. A delay might be protection. An unexpected task might lead to a lesson in patience or an opportunity to help someone in need. The smallest choices become significant because they are made with a heart that desires to follow God's will, not just personal convenience. That shift in mindset turns a normal day into sacred ground. Your day may look simple on the surface, but underneath it is filled with purpose, growth, and spiritual impact. People often look for the extraordinary in the dramatic moments of life. Big breakthroughs, miracles, or mountaintop experiences. But God delights in working through the small things. He shows up in stillness, in quiet faithfulness, in everyday obedience. A conversation you have with a coworker could be exactly what they needed to hear. A moment of patience with your child could plant a seed of security in their heart. A prayer whispered while folding laundry could move the heart of heaven. These are not minor things when God is involved. They are moments woven into a much greater plan. Choosing to let God lead your day doesn't mean everything will go smoothly. Challenges will still come, and plans may still change. But the difference lies in how you experience those things. You no longer go through the day trying to carry everything alone. Instead, you walk with a sense of peace, direction, and confidence, knowing you are not navigating life by your own limited understanding. Every hour becomes filled with potential, every step guided by His wisdom. And every task, no matter how simple, becomes part of a divine design. That is how God takes what seems ordinary and turns it into something eternally meaningful. Circumstances.